Hello, everybody. All right, so there we go. All right, so we're gonna give people a chance to get in here for a few minutes. I'm gonna go off camera for a moment, do a thing or two. I'll put some music on while I'm gone. Of course, and then when we come back, I'll go ahead and go over what's on tap. All right, so there we go. It looks like we have a couple people here already. So as always, if you guys can like and share the stream and see if we can get some more friendly people here, that would be greatly appreciated. Also, anything we talk about tonight grabs your attention, to feel free to, of course, comment and or ask questions, and I will try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. So we have a couple people in here already, so I might as well just get right into this then. So um, so tonight, as I mentioned, we're dropping back to 1 hour, of course. And it looks like so we'll wait a few more minutes. And I think whoever was here just dropped out. So we'll just give people a little more time to come in. I hope everybody had a good weekend. We had a good talk last night as Tim Olson and Rick Piper from Cross Comics, and Tim Olson, of course, the creator of Melvin, joined me as we had kind of a nice little roundabout conversation. Here. I do have to check something on. I do have to check something real quick, so I'll be turning on the music one more time, and I'll be right back. All right, so we're back again. As I said, we're just waiting. So we're coming up on 4 minutes here. So I guess should go ahead and talk about what on tap for tonight. So what's on tap for tonight? Well, we're going to go over 3 articles from Bounding into Comics, and then we'll do Wrestling Rabbit. Quite a bit of wrestling news happened over the weekend. There were 4 organizations that had, or 3 organizations that had big events, big pay-per-view events, or as I guess they're now calling them, premium live events. At least that's the term WWE is using. There's also some other news coming out of WWE that just broke today. Let's see. Let me see now. Aside from that, let's see. We had 3 companies, and then this Friday, of course, NWA will be having an event as well. We'll be talking about that. Plus the This Day Needs History. And with all that being said, we will go ahead and now get started. We're at the 5 minute mark, so we'll just go ahead and get ourselves started here. Oh, I forgot to mention what else. So the three articles we'll be doing, of course, some news on some releases for Spy Family, as they've announced. They've I think put out some trailers and announced release dates for season 2 of Spy Family, as well as the Spy Family movie Code White. We got some news on Junji Ito. Apparently, they're releasing stuff from him. And then also a story that we started to cover a little bit last week about the young man who got kicked out of the Pokemon tournament for laughing at pronouns. He has issued a response, so we'll be looking at that as well. So with all that being said, why don't we go ahead and get started here? So here's the first thing we're gonna talk about here. All right, so here we go. To watching now. Okay, so that's good. As I said, if you can like and share the screen, see if we can get some more friendly people in here. Also, if anything grabs your attention, feel free to comment down or ask questions, and we will go ahead and I will try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. But with that, let's look at this. So, Spy Family Season 2 and Spy Family Code White film receives official release dates. Article by Nerdigans Inc., published March 30th, which of course was last Thursday. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. Amongst the numerous release date confirmations and trailer premieres coming out of this year's Anime Japan Expo. Now, mind you, April is the start of the spring anime season in Japan, where a lot of your spring releases will be coming out. So with that, trailer premieres coming out this year's, and one of the biggest announcements was Toho Animation's reveal that the countdown to the Forger family's animated return has officially been activated. And then here's, I guess, a pic of Spy Family, the movie. So I got season 2 and a movie coming out from Spy Family. Spy Family is one of the breakout hits of late 2022. It was popular, following the exploits of the Forger family. So initially having their respective covers blown back in December, both the second season of the Spy Family anime and the Spy Family Code White cinematic excursion received substantial production updates at Anime Japan, courtesy of series voice actors Takuya Iguchi, who voices Lloyd Forger, Atsumi Tanizaki, who voices Anya Forger, Saori Hayami, who voices Yor Forger, and Kenichiro Matsuda, who who does the vocal effects, I guess, of Bond the dog. And there's I guess a chibi art of Anya right there, I guess. Yeah. Based on an all new original story written by Spy Family mangaka Tatsuya Endo and developed by Wit Studios and Cloverworks, Spy Family Code White will be directed by Spy Family Season 1 anime's assistant director Takashi Katagiri. Screenplay by Code Geass creator uh, Ichiro Okochi. Um, taking to the event's special red stage, the crew first unveiled the film's latest teaser visual. So, yes, here's the teaser for the Family Code White, Spy Family Code White um, movie. Let's see now. And I thank you for the like and the share. Hopefully, we can get some more people in here. Get good conversation going. Um, illustrated by Code White's chief animation director Kyoji Asano, the visual features a stern Lloyd forger holding a gun, a in smaller quotes killer mode activated Yor forger wielding her signature blade, and a determined Anya forger standing side by side with the family dog Bond against a background depicting a plane and a train running through a snow-capped mountain. A brief line of text included an image reads via DeepL that translates, quote, "The world's most epic family vacation begins." Oh, this should be very interesting indeed. Okay. Yeah, Anya doesn't look too happy there. And at least the way they drew it almost looks like Bond maybe crying there or tears. Um, at first glance, unless you really take a look at it, it almost looks like he's crying there. The tears are rolling down the side of his face there, but that's probably just the way they shaded it or lighted it, you know, um, where it looked that way. It looked that way. This news was then followed up by the confirmation that the series' second season will begin airing October 2023. So the second season will be part of the fall 2023 releases. October is when they release the fall releases. So that's going to be interesting, as I believe it was fall of last year that Spy Family initially came out. So, anyways, we continue on here. Anyways, let me just. All right. So, anyways, all right. All right. So to commemorate the latest announcements, Spy Family mangaka Tatsuya Endo produced a new illustration recreating the teaser visual in the art style of Lloyd, Yor, and Anya voice actors, a reference to the poor artistic abilities with which said VAs regularly draw teaser visuals for the anime's individual episodes. Oh, yeah, it is kind of out there, I guess. All right, so there we go with that one. So there we go. These kind of things though are usually pretty quick most of the time, and it's just informational like that. So now I'll get ready to move on to the next. To Ito. So this will be the next one we will be talking about here. 15 minutes. All right. All right, so here's the next one here. Junji Ito teams up with Fangoria Studios to adapt his horror manga, Blood Sucking Darkness, in smaller quotes, for live action. Article by Nerdigans Inc., published March 31st, 2023, um, which of course is the was Friday. So the master of Japanese horror mangaka, Junji Ito, has announced his partnership with specialist studio Fangoria to produce a live-action adaptation of his one-shot vampire tale, Blood-Sucking Darkness. Wow, well, that's an original name for a vampire vampire manga, isn't it? Vampire title, Blood-Sucking Darkness. Ah, straight to the point, isn't it? uh, as I believe, we have two people here now, so that's good. Um, yeah. So as I said, this is what from the manga movies section here. As per a press release provided by Fangoria to the media on March 30th, this collaboration will be the first of three planned films which will aim to bring Ito's signature horror to live action. Initially released as part of Ito's 2002 Voices in the Dark collection under its original title Blood Slurping Darkness. Okay. Don't know if there's that much of a difference, but hey, whatever. Blood Sucking Darkness follows the story of a woman named Nami after a bad breakup with her boyfriend. Developed severe cases of both anorexia and bulimia. Ouch. Eventually, her eating disorders caused her to not only begin vomiting up blood, but also experience strange, feverish dreams. Um, and when an eerie boy from school named Kazuya Tani um, starts obsessing over her health, so much so that he attempts to win her heart by abstaining from eating. Oh boy, yeah, a girl you like is anorexic and bulimic, so you decide to become anorexic and bulimic. Okay, that's a bright move, isn't it? Oh boy. Um, these dreams turn into full-on nightmares featuring images of raining blood and a terrifying vampire standing over her frozen body. Hmm. But is it really a nightmare? That's the thing. Made to believe it's a nightmare. It's usually 9 times out of 10 when they sell it to you as if it's a nightmare, it actually turns out to be true. But anyways, so we continue on here. Um, in a statement released alongside the news, Ito, who will also be serving as one of the film's producers, shared his excitement at the prospect that Fangoria Studios, in quote, Fangoria Studios is going to adapt my manga, unquote. Quote, I'm so excited to see how it will turn out, unquote, the mangaka added. Quote, I hope I get to see the trailer in my dreams tonight. Dream a little dream of me. Hmm. Likewise, the film's screenwriter and executive producer, Jeff Howard, um, who did, I guess, Gerald's Game, Netflix's Midnight Mass, recalled in his own statement how, quote, when I found out a live action Junji Ito adaptation was going to happen, I chased after it with everything I had because I just couldn't live with anyone else getting there before me. Unquote. Quote, the combination of fear and feelings is where I always want to be, unquote. He further stated. Giving his own thoughts on the deal, Fangoria Studios senior vice president Armin Aghayan um, acknowledged, quote, Ito's stories and visuals are pure nightmare fuel, unquote. Quote, the team at Fangoria, depending on how Fangoria does sound like an interesting interesting studio for horror stuff, right? Is honored to be working alongside Junji Ito, unquote, said the studio executive. Quote, we are excited to bring the horror found in the pages of his work to life onto the biggest screens possible. As of this writing, no release date has been set for this live action take on Ito's bloodsucking tale. I'm sure we'll hear about it soon enough. That's usually, they're just getting the word out right now that it's coming for everybody to, so everybody will know it's coming. So we do have one more article to go over before we ready to do the wrestling wrap up. Oh yeah, and this is the last article we're gonna do tonight. Let's see, where are we at on time here? We're so 22 minutes. So I guess I am making some good time here. All right. So, of course, as I said, this is kind of a follow-up story to what we talked a little bit about last week. Um, so, as some of you may remember hearing about last week when we reported on it, there was a kid who was disqualified from a Pokemon tournament because a judge asked him what his pronouns were and just nervously answered him he, him, hit, like he kind of nervously laughed, like, why are you asking me this question? And the judge took offense to it and had the kid disqualified for it. For because he was laughing at pronouns. Kind of stupid, as we talked about last week. But I guess now he's made a statement in response. So let's see. Team disqualified from Pokemon TCG trading card game tournament after nervously laughing when asked for pronouns. Opens up, quote, I hadn't had suicidal thoughts in a while until this event. That's not a good thing. Article by Ryan Pearson, published earlier today in the under the articles of censorship, tabletop games and RPGs, and video games. Now, again, not usually stuff. Now Pokemon is also an anime franchise, so it is. So of course we're going to cover it, but also just the fact is also a censorship story too. And another SJW story that many people talked about. I was first lured to it by Yellow Flash, but a number of other commentators have also talked about it. So anyway, so here we go right here. So after nervously laughing when asked his pronouns by a non-binary judge, 17-year-old player Makani Tron was disqualified in a regional Pokemon uh, TCG tournament, trading card game tournament. All right. And I guess Tron is the guy on the right there. of your screen. Guy in the gray shirt and the beige slacks. The sleeveless guy right there. So, despite Tron beating 5 prior opponents in the Pokemon trading card game Charlotte Regional Championship, so it is happening in Charlotte, so I'm guessing Charlotte, North Carolina. He would only play and win 1 match out of 3 against his opponent, Alex Shemansky. Both players and a judge seemed to be distracted by something off camera at the end of the match. Tron stopped shuffling his deck for a brief time, nervously glancing around before he smiles and the mood seems to settle. After the match, the commentators note they, quote, have to take a short break, unquote, despite it being mid-set. When they returned 5 minutes later, commentator Shelby Bow explained, quote, unfortunately, we were not able to continue streaming that last match that we just casted with you all. Of course, we got through one of those rounds. Yeah, so this is where he was basically disqualified for the whole incident with the pronouns right here. And I guess that's more of a shot right there of Mikestand. Tron would go on to disclose that he had been disqualified by a head judge and escorted out of the venue, and provided more details. He opens explaining going up against Shemansky, quote, a very well-known player as well as a very skilled player, made him nervous along with being on stream and in front of such a large crowd for only the third time. Yeah, I mean that it's natural to be nervous. You're involved in in a tournament like that, very competitive, you know, and you're basically being put on display for all to see by a streaming service. You know, got a lot of eyes watching you. That's gonna make you nervous. Hey, Rick, see you're here. That is just so wrong. Yeah, we talked about that. And hi, Mike, and everyone else. Hey, Rick, see you there. Hey, all, our one true sci-fi savior, Xenu. All right, so if you guys haven't already, of course, you guys can like and share the stream. See if we can get some more friendly people in here. That'd be appreciated. Also, if you guys, of course, have any, anything here catches your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions, and I will try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. Of course, I've already gone through the first 2 articles. This is the last article we're going through here. Basically about what we were talking about last week with this kid who got disqualified over the whole pronoun issue. Yeah, but again, it's you're involved in a tournament like that, and for, at least according to some of the reports I remember from last week too, kids planning on becoming a pro at these tournaments. He's planning on making a living out of this. So in some respect, it's good to deal with some of this stuff now. Getting him prepared, as well for that world. On their way to the streaming stage, competitors were asked by a judge for their preferred pronouns. Though he eventually remembered, Tran had forgotten the word for the third pronoun. I said, in quotes there, I said, he, or him, or, and I paused trying to think of the third pronoun, the third pronoun being his. Unquote. Now, again, I mean, who sits there and who gives a Who gives a bleep about your pronouns? Well, okay, I know. We already know. The SJWs give a bleep. But they're a bunch of bleeps anyways, right? Ah. And just to get this kid disqualified just because he got nervous, couldn't remember one of the three pronouns that he would use, and the judge decides to take. I know there have been many people called for this judge not to be used again. But the fact that they even disqualified the kid and just shows you that a lot of these, even if the head judge who escorted him out apologized and said, like if he's the head judge, then he actually does have the authority to tell the other judge, hey, go stick it, dude. Quote, due to the nerves and me being embarrassed, I let out a little laugh, just a normal nervous laugh. My response together ended up being in smaller quote, he or him or his unquote. That's it. That's all I said. Now, in that situation, that's perfectly natural, perfectly normal. Okay? It's like, if anything, I mean, almost, especially if you're talking about an adult judge and I know, now granted, not that I want to get too much into this, but whether or not a 17-year-old is really a child versus a young adult or whatever, I know that's a tricky discussion to be had. We're not going to have that discussion here right now. But, the thing is that, that just shouldn't have happened. Okay, that judge was the one in the wrong there. The pair then continued to walk to the stream area, and the judge once more for the preferred. So I guess they meant asked once more for the preferred pronouns. Quote, Alex says, in smaller quotes, he and him, and I then say, in smaller quotes, yeah, he and him, haha, unquote. The little laugh at the end was because I was trying not to be awkward and because I was just stating the exact thing, Alex had just stated. And it was kind of silly to me in that scenario. Quite honestly, mocking, I think most, maybe even Alex, even probably thought it was silly and stupid. I wouldn't be surprised if just about most people there probably thought it was silly and stupid. Okay, I think anybody with any reasonable intelligence would think that was silly and stupid for a judge to be asking you your preferred pronouns at such an event. We're in a world right now of just screwy people, screwy in the head. Tron was also reminded that during a tournament in Baltimore earlier that season, in parentheses, where he had made the top 8, on parentheses, no one had asked him his pronouns, and commentators had called him they them. His friends had teased him about it, but Tron emphasized he had no issues with how people, quote, choose to identify and express themselves, unquote. Returning to the tournament after Tron gave his answer a second time, quote, the judge looked at me and said, okay, just wanted to check to be safe. I go by they, them, so don't be a jerk about it, unquote. Now, this judge apparently was being a jerk, thinks the kid was being a jerk because he laughed you put him on the spot, you ding dong. And I'm talking to the judge, obviously. You put him on the spot. You you kind of created the situation, and then just totally screwed over. Totally screwed over the kid there. Um, they smiled after this and gave no signals whatsoever of being upset or uncomfortable. Well, I don't know. I think don't be a jerk about it. Saying don't be a jerk would be some kind of indication that he was upset about it. But that's on the judge. That's not on Mocking there. It's not on Tron there. It's not Tron's fault. You know, Tron had assumed that, quote, don't be a jerk about it, unquote, comment meant in general or for future situations. Quote, I had no clue that I had upset them, and I had no intention to do so whatsoever, unquote, Tron explained. Yeah, well, I mean, and Tron should not have been put in that situation. Nobody should be put in that situation. The whole scenario is stupid. That judge is stupid. Look like JR's got some things to say here. Let's see what he's got to say. Trans rights are the only chance in the next 100 years for people with penises to be legally protected uh, between then. White women don't bleep this up. Okay. Um, yeah. Big vagina discriminates against men in education, law, school, medical care, government jobs. Uh, Trans women fight all that. Yeah, I mean the whole thing. Again, the whole thing to me just sounds stupid. Just sounds utterly and utterly stupid there. Um, and just so we're clear, so everybody knows, Tran, Tran, is the kid's last name. I believe it's a it might be a Southeast Asian surname. I think Vietnamese. I think you know. Just so we're clear that Tron himself does not identify as being a trans. Okay, he identified himself as being a guy, basically. Um, his last name just happens to be Tran, which is from what I understand, I think it's a Vietnamese, but I know it's somewhere Southeast Asian surname. So, just so everybody's clear on that, so not to be confused there. Tron explained, quote, I thought nothing of this because to me, it was just a normal conversation that people have before going on stream, unquote. Compared to how a tournament in San Diego, Tron felt nothing was amiss. As Tron and Shemansky um, prepared for their second match, Tran saw, quote, a few judges walking over to the stage, and they get on stage, and one starts talking to Alex, unquote, to the confusion of them both. And I mean, it almost looks, and you can see right there. So Makani actually, Makani Tran. Okay, there's an I that I missed. Makani Tran, Alex Shemansky, and a judge seem distracted by something out of frame via TCG Day 1. So yeah, you can see right there Alex looking right ahead, and then that judge is in the between them. He's like looking off to the side, like somebody's trying to get his attention. It looks like Trans just seems to be shuffling his deck or trying to shuffle his deck. Tran claims the judges only spoke to only Shemansky. All right, that seems to be a typo. Um, you need to put the other only in there. Either judges only spoke to Shemansky, or the judges only spoke to Shemansky. Probably been how should have been stated, but and Tran kept his headphones on, leaving him unable to hear the conversation. Then one of the judges puts a headset on and asks me, in small quote, Makani, what was said to the judge when they asked for your pronouns? Unquote. Quote, this is where I began to get a bit worried and wondered if I had done something wrong, unquote. Trying to explain, quote, I answered the question and I said he, him, unquote. The judge then asked me if there was anything else I said, and they wanted to know what my tone was during the conversation. They said this very important that I answered this truthfully. Now that could be a direct quote, depending on Tran's. You know, I may not necessarily call this as much of a typo because if English is like Tran's second or third language, the grammar may not come through as well. So it could be a typo, or it could be just how he answered. He confessed that his laugh from being nervous might have been taken in the wrong way. The judge then told Tran to leave the stage and talk elsewhere. To his confusion, Tran notices other players were taking their spot on the stage. Quote, I walked behind the curtains by the stage, and the head judge, in parentheses, can't remember his name. I think it was Bobby, unparenthesed. Let me just see if he was, let's see. Asked me what exactly was said, unquote. Tran explained himself, saying his nerves, what had happened at Baltimore, that he had no issue with pronouns, and that he wouldn't have an incentive to jeopardize the invite he had earned, all while being, quote, very polite and calm, unquote. Despite this, the head judge's initial reaction, Tran explains, quote, the head judge seemed to understand, so I was a bit relieved, but then he pulls out the rule book on his phone and says that due to me violating their inclusive policy and due to me making someone feel unsafe and uncomfortable, I was disqualified from the event. Now that is one of the stupidest things to happen there. The kid laughs nervously because the judge puts him on the spot, and the kid is in the wrong. The kid gets punished. You know what we call that, people, right? You know what we call that. It's a couple of initials, B and S. I think you all know what that is. It would seem the one who felt unsafe and uncomfortable was the judge, with they/them pronouns. Tran attempted to appeal, but emphasizing he meant no offense was met with indifference. Quote, the head judge tells me that he was sorry and that it sucked, but I was disqualified due to Pokemon's policy, unquote. Yeah, that policy needs to change. You can't judges can't be doing that crap. Excuse my language here. That kind of thing's just stupid. And stupidity makes me angry. That's just it's like judge took offense to that, and he shouldn't have. This would be the policy of Play Pokemon, a subsidiary branch of the Pokemon Company that handles official tournaments. Tron explains that he's on the verge of tears and his multiple requests to appeal and speak to the offended judge were all rejected. The head judge said he had already been disqualified despite what he had just been told. Quote, yes, I know this sucks for everyone involved, and I'm sorry, we have to do this. Yeah, I would say that if I was Tron's parents and I had found out my son had spent all that money to go to that tournament, I'd be suing those people. I'd be sending them. I'd be going to court suing them to recoup the damages. And I did hear I think there was a report that a GoFundMe was set up to reimburse him for his expenditures. But this kind of stuff it needs to go to it needs to be court. These people need to be taught a lesson. They can't do this to people. They can't sit there and do this kind of garbage. Now openly crying, Tran told the head judge he had listened to him at hadn't listened to him at all. That he had spent $800 in flights and even missed school to attend the tournament. The head judge, uh, in quotes here, didn't care at all, despite admitting, quote, he believed that I had no bad intentions. It didn't matter because at the end of the day, someone was offended and upset, unquote. Yeah, that's giving people way too much power. You know, kind of reminds me from the Bible the whole situation with Joseph and Pontius Pilate's wife. You know, you can't give people that much power. That's just wrong. That judge should be disqualified. Um, anyways, Tran was then told he wasn't allowed back into the venue, and he became inconsolable. He had no service on his phone, nor the key to his hotel room. After explaining he had to walk, the head judge somewhat relented, um, merely offering to call over one of his friends to help. Quote, like, did he think this made it all better? Unquote, Tran states. Despite crying his eyes out, the judge asked Tran to sign the match slip. Quote, I felt that he wasn't even acknowledging me and that he was just happy the problem was dealt with, unquote, Tran theorized. Even as Tran was asking the head judge to give me a sec, unquote, and still bawling, quote, a minute later he asked me, are you refusing to sign the match slip, making situation even worse than it was somehow? I signed the match slip and keep crying, unquote. The head judge then left, leaving Tran, quote, for another good 10 minutes, crying, waiting for one of my friends to come and meet me, unquote. Tran then reveals in his statement that in prior years he had been, quote, extremely suicidal and depressed. After years of medication and therapy and working through it all, I was finally starting to be better, unquote. The event had caused a relapse into suicide. Yeah, where this judge deserves to go, right? HE double hockey sticks. Actually, I would even say that the head judge should go with him. Both of those judges should go there. Oh, this is a very personal topic for me, but I'm going to go over it anyways because I need people to understand what I was going through. Unquote. The 17-year-old prefaced, quote, in the past years, I had been extremely suicidal and depressed, and after years of medication and therapy, and working through it, all I was finally working through it all, I was finally starting to be better. Unquote. He went on, quote, I was stable and going to school and doing things on my own. Life was good. I hadn't had suicidal thoughts in a while until this event. As I was sitting down crying my I guess eyes out in disbelief, I get up and say, in small quote, I'm going to kill myself, unquote, and start walking away from the stage. Quote, a staff member who had been watching me, Reagan's dad, followed me outside the venue and had to escort me until I was upstairs and sat down. I just sat there in shock and tears, and he said he had to cut my wristband off, um, unquote, Tran recalled. Quote, I was out of energy at this point, and I raised my arm so he could cut my wristband, unquote. Tran admitted to crying for another 20 minutes, seemingly unattended, until his friend finished his matches. He was briefly consoled by him before he went back inside the venue for the rest of his tournament. Tran reportedly continued to cry for another 30 to 45 minutes. Quote, when I say I was close to running outside into the middle of the road, I'm not joking. Tran, unquote, Tran emphasized, quote, I do not mess about with this topic. It is not something I take lightly whatsoever. What I'm trying to say is that the way I was treated made me feel so upset and treated so unfairly, and I was nearly running into the middle of the road and getting ran over, unquote. Yeah, it's more important, yeah, this kid about that, did they? No, it was more about the judge who was offended than the kid who was nervous because he was put on the spot. That's just utter BS. Quote, I wanted it all to be over. I was just done with everything. There was no point of anything for me. My dream of winning a regional with my own deck, with my deck, I had put so much time and work into, was just taken from me, unquote. He added, quote, I missed school. I lost hundreds of dollars, traveled across the country for what? Nothing. It was all for nothing. I'm being completely honest with everyone have when I say have never been this upset in my entire life. I never want to feel like this again. I think the judges overall handled the situation terribly, and I was treated like garbage. Pokemon trading TCG trading card game regional champion Jake Gearhart asked, "Quote: Was Alex Shemansky in brackets there ever questioned by the head judge? From your account, it seems like you went directly from the stage to the head judge, which means you wouldn't have been able to talk to Alex before issuing a DQ. This seems absurd to me, given Alex was a witness to everything." Unquote. So this is the regional champion here who's pointing this out. Quote, no, I wanted to ask Alex, but I couldn't, unquote, Tran explained. This would lend further credence that the offended player was the they them, well, not player, because obviously he was a judge, not a player in the tournament, I would gather, was the they them judge, not Tran's opponent in the match. Shemansky offered his thoughts on the disqualification. Quote, this is probably a dangerous tweet for me. Should McConaughey have been DQ'd? I don't think so. But remember, y'all, this isn't an excuse to attack inclusive people's identity. Also, remember that judges are, by the rules, completely unable to share their side of things. Unquote. That's no excuse, not for this. At La Bronichu, asked Shemansky, quote, when you heard him answer the pronouns question twice, in parentheses there, did it come off as offensive to you when he forgot his third pronoun? Now, mind you, too, this he wasn't laughing. Okay, Tran wasn't even laughing at the judge's pronouns. He was laughing at the fact that he couldn't remember his own third pronoun. Okay, he wasn't even laughing at the judge's pronouns. He was laughing at his inability to remember his own third pronoun. That's what makes this even more absurd. And we're going. Yeah, I know. I said we were going to cut back to an hour, which and we're coming up on an hour now, of course. And I see you guys. But again, it's slated for an hour, but doesn't mean we won't at times go beyond if we're really into something here. All right, so let me see. Let me get caught up on some of these because I know you guys got into it a bit here. The only judge a white woman wouldn't feel they could destroy an anonymous accusation is the Judge Alex. Those are the rules working for they, them instead of she, her, big. All right. 10 years ago, any white woman in the tournament could simply destroy the judges or potential opponents by accusing either of harassment. I don't think this is the same situation, though, JR. With that, you can easily eliminate the competition. No one cares about Tran's claim of suicidal thoughts, nor would they if he was accused of harassment of a white woman, but Alex would be listened to if he accused a white woman of calling. Alex, I don't know if you're. What are you trying to say? Are you trying to say that Alex is getting special treatment because he's white? Are you trying to pull, Jr.? Are you actually trying to go the white privilege route because Alex didn't get? But Alex, all he did was witness. He wasn't even really, aside from just witnessing it, he wasn't really involved. Alex is winning the public. Alex was the opponent. Was Makani's opponent. I don't think Alex was the one who was offended. Alex wasn't the judge who was offended. JR. Alex was Makani's opponent, and Alex even said that he doesn't think that Makani should have been disqualified. Destruction by accusation that was completely reserved for white women until now. Yeah. Yeah. In other words, you're saying that somebody who's basically LGBT can now use it. Now is that where you're going with it? But the thing, what you have to understand is, so there are numerous parties involved. So the main issue is between Makani Tran and the judge who identifies as they, them. Okay. And I got to make some lighting adjustments here, so I'm going to go off camera here for a moment, put some music on for this. So by Alex, I mean Judge. Yeah, okay. So just to clear up, yeah, the main issue was between Makani Tran and one of the judges, the judge who identified themselves as they them. Alex was Makani's opponent during the streamed match, and the other party involved in this is the head judge. Okay, so these are the parties involved. Just so we're clear. And it looks like, even though I slated this to be an hour, we're going to go over it tonight. This particular article, just, we really need to dive into this. Third opponent, and when he nervously laughed after answering, I can only imagine his answers must have been egregious in their tone or dismissal to warrant such a reaction, unquote. Szymanski could only answer, quote, honestly, I can see how someone would have been offended from his tone and speech patterns during the whole sequence of events, but I know Makani well enough that I don't think he meant any harm or had any malicious intent. We were walking for the first question, so I barely heard, unquote. At this time of writing, Szymanski's tweets are protected. My guess is because Szymanski probably doesn't want to get backlash. Play Pokemon's questionable judges and policies, co-organizers overload events, and the treatment of an emotionally distressed person under the age of 18 have all been met with condemnation. So many people, including myself, have basically condemned this, have condemned what they did to him. This has also resulted in support for Tran. A GoFundMe was set up by fellow trading card game player Taylor Hall to help Tran recuperate his travel expenses. As of writing, the campaign that aimed to raise $1,500 has raised over $5,000. Some donations, as noticed by Tran, were up to $500. So he well surpassed the help replace Makani's regional expenses. Tran was already ecstatic with the GoFundMe when the GoFundMe reached over 1,600. And despite everything that had happened, he retweeted messages condemning any attacks on trans people in light of the incident. After thanking supporters for the donations up to that point, he asked similar of those who supported him. All right, a little quote. One more thing: do not use what happened at Charlotte as an excuse to bully and harass the trans community. That bleep is not okay, and I do not condone this behavior at all. Unquote. Tran defied. Quote, that's all I have to say, and again, thank you for all the support. I'm so happy right now. Kid seems more mature than than the adult right there. So, anyways, despite everything, Tran is still playing the Pokemon trading card game, revealing to his supporters that he would be entering the Fort Wayne Regional Championships, Fort Wayne, Indiana. So hopefully he has a better experience there than he did in Charlotte. Hopefully, when he goes there, there won't be any. This one judge, I hope, gets disqualified and never judges again. The one who got offended because Tran laughed. Quote, going to Fort Wayne, thanks to all of you. Thank you so much for making this possible. Means the world to me, unquote. At this time of writing, it appears neither the Pokemon Company nor Play Pokemon have made a statement regarding the incident. During the Fort Wayne Regional Championships, only discussing a summary of major matches, the finals, and the ongoing meta. Their social media accounts have also been quiet on the matter. Yeah, they don't want the Hornets nest either. The Fort Wayne, which happened just this past weekend. Um, so so there you go. So that's it for that. So that was the last article we were going to cover. We're already past the hour mark, but I'm going to still try to finish up as soon as possible here. Let's see. This is a step toward equality. Maybe the wrong kind of equality, unfortunately, though, Jr. You know, making it high. But anyway, so we're done with the articles then. So I do have quite a bit to talk about in the wrestling scene too. Uh, as the weekend, this past weekend was major busy, and we have some stuff coming up this weekend as well. So now we're going to get to the wrestling wrap up a bit here and just go over some of the stuff that's going on. Now, before I get into some of the major events, of course, there was one big breaking piece of news that came out today as the WWE sale has been made official. Um, so the WWE has been sold and is merging with Endeavor, um, which also owns UFC. So the WWE will now be in partnership with UFC, and they'll be doing probably events together. Vince McMahon is still in power now. Endeavor is like 51% owners, and WE is 49% owners. So that came out today. But with that also, so now this past weekend, of course, as far as I know, the Friday night Hall of Fame. In fact, let me double check to see if that was even put up the other day as well. I know that the results from the WrestleManias were the events themselves, but I want to see if the Hall of Fame ceremony was put up here. Okay, I guess not. All right. So anyway, so WWE, as I said, did have their did have WrestleMania this weekend. Night one was Saturday, and a lot of people were a lot happier with night one than they were with night two. Night one had night one had Austin Theory retaining the United States title over John Cena. The Street Profits won the Fatal 4-Way men's tag team match. Seth Rollins defeated Logan Paul. The women's tag team champions Becky Lynch and Lita, who teamed with Trish Stratus, defeated Damage Control. Rey Mysterio beat his son Dominique. Rhea Ripley defeated Charlotte Flair for the SmackDown Women's title. Pat McAfee defeated The Miz in an impromptu match last night, I believe. And then Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn defeated Jay and Jimmy Uso for the unified tag team titles. A lot of people were happy about those results, of course. But then we get to last night, and not as much. Albeit there were some reasons behind it, obviously, but so last night saw the opening match, saw Brock Lesnar defeat Nigerian Nightmare Almost in under 5 minutes. Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler had won the women's Fatal 4-Way Tag Team match in a match that was, as compared to the men's, was really looked at as being like a major downgrade from the men's Fatal 4-Way. Gunther had retained the Intercontinental title in a triple match over Drew McIntyre and Sheamus. And it's also been talked about that Drew McIntyre may be leaving the WWE soon, as his contract is about due up. That's another piece of news that came out today. Bianca Belair retained the women's title over Asuka, much to the disappointment of a few fans out there. Snoop Dogg, the impromptu match, defeated The Miz. Basically knocked him out after initially it was going to be so Shane Helms came out, start the match, ended up tearing his quad, and then Snoop Dogg essentially took over the match and beat Miz. I guess you guys know the potential, some of the potential stuff that can come out of that. Let's see. Edge defeated Finn Balor in the Hell in a Cell, and then Roman Reigns and probably considered the most disappointing result of the night. Match itself was good, but the result was really just very disappointing for a lot of fans. Roman Reigns retaining the WWE and Universal title over Cody Rhodes. I think a lot of people felt it was time for Cody to be given that shot, or given the shot to be. But a lot of people were saying that part of the reason why Roman was retained the titles because they didn't necessarily want to make such a big change with of course the sale going on and until the transition was completed, transition of power to Endeavor. So that was what happened in the WWE. On Friday night's AEW show, since I can pull that up here. Friday night, of course, was the event for the Hall of Fame event, in which the WWE did induct, as far as I know, four inductees in the WWE Hall of Fame on Friday. That was Rey Mysterio Jr., Great Muta, Andy Kaufman, and Stacy Keibler. So while that was going on live, AEW's Rampage show, which was taped on Wednesday from St. Louis, saw Sammy Guevara defeating Konosuke Takeshita, the tag team Best Friends defeating Kings of the Black Throne via DQ, so that so that, of course, the House of Black could make a statement, which is setting up for a 6-man tag team, best friends teaming with Orange Cassidy, the AEW International Champion, teaming up to challenge the House of Black for the Trios title this Wednesday night. Taya Valkyrie in just over 2.5 minutes, defeating Marina Shafir in more of a storyline match. Basically, the match was meant more to push the storyline between Taya and Jade because they both use, in essence, the same move. Jade's Jaded move and Taya's Road to Valhalla, which is an elevated double chicken wing face buster type move. A move that was actually originated by Jazz, by the way. And yet they're playing up like Jade's got some kind of exclusive right to use the move and nobody else can use it. When Taya's been using it for years now. And if anybody was actually going to sue anybody for using the move, it would probably be Jazz suing them, because Jazz is the one who was the first to popularize the move. But it's kind of a ridiculous storyline to begin with. And then in the main event for the night, Juice Robinson, the former IWGP United States heavyweight champion, defeated Action Andretti. Coming up this Wednesday, of course, on Dynamite, I think they do have quite a few title matches coming up this Wednesday that we will we'll go over those real quick here. This Wednesday's this Wednesday's Dynamite, as soon as I can find it here. Let's see. There it is. From Elmont, New York. There are a number of title matches that were happening on the night, including, as mentioned earlier, the Trios title will be on the line as the House of Black of Malachi Black, Brody King, and Buddy Matthews defend the titles against best friends of Trent Beretta and Chuck Taylor and AEW International Champion Orange Cassidy. Sammy Guevara will be taking on Commander. Hook defends the FTW title against the firm's Ethan Page. The Guns, Austin and Colton Gunn, will be defending the AEW World Tag Team titles against FTR of Dax Harwood and Cash Wheeler in a titles versus AEW careers. This one is interesting in that it was recently announced that FTR's contract may be coming up, and there's been no sign of whether or not they've actually re-signed with AEW. So we will get more resolution on that situation probably when the match happens. Jamie Hayter defends the women's world title, AEW women's world title, against Riho. And then in the main event, Juice Robinson's taking on Ricky Starks. So that's all going on in AEW. So now what we have to do, of course, going back. Friday night also was the Ring of Honor Supercard of Honor event. The pre-show, the 0 hour portion, and that happened from the Galen Center on the campus of USC. The commentators were Caprice Coleman, Ian Riccaboni, and Nigel McGuinness. Jeff Cobb, having had a busy week towards the end of last week, defeated Tracy Williams in the opening match on the Countdown show, having come off a successful win against Moose the night before, and we'll talk a bit more about that. And also a losing effort to try to become the IWGP United States champion against Kenny Omega. Konosuke Takeshita defeated Willie Mack. Willow Nightingale defeated Miranda Elise, and Stu Grayson defeated Trustbuster Slim J. Dark Order Stu Grayson. So that was that, and then the event, the Super Card of Honor event itself, which was shown on Bleacher Report, with again Coleman, Riccaboni, and McGinnis doing the commentary there. El Hijo del Vikingo retained the AAA Mega title against Commander. The Embassy of Brian Cage and the Gates of Agony of Bishop Khan and Toa Leone retained the World Six-Man titles against AR Fox, Blake Christian, and Metallic. Athena retained the ROH Women's World title against Yuka Sakazaki. Samoa Joe retained the World Television title over Mark Briscoe by referee's decision. Disappointment to some fans. Hiroshi Tanahashi defeated Daniel Garcia. As the tag team titles were on the line because Mark Briscoe had vacated them. The Lucha Brothers had won the Reach for the Sky ladder match to become the new Ring of Honor World Tag Team Champions. Katsuyori Shibata defeated Wheeler Yuta to become the new Pure Champion, and then Claudio Castagnoli had retained the ROH World title over Eddie Kingston in a match that they said was 15 years in the making. Let's see now. Finally, as we shall now get down to the event from Thursday, Impact Wrestling, along with New Japan Wrestling, had a pay-per-view on Thursday in the Globe Theater in Los Angeles. On Thursday, the countdown to Multiverse United, Only the Strong Survive, which was done by Ian Riccaboni, Matthew Rainwalt, and Tom Hannafin. Yuya Uemura had defeated Gabriel Kidd on the pre-show there, on the countdown show. And then at the event itself, Multiverse United, Only the Strong Survive, you saw Trey Miguel retain the X Division title in a scramble match. The four-man team of Alex Coughlin, Callahan, Fred Rosser, PCO defeated Eddie Edwards, Joe Hendry, and the tag team of Team Filthy, J.R. Kratos, and Tom Lawler, an 8-man tag match. Jeff Cobb, as we mentioned, having a busy week, had defeated Moose on Thursday. Diona Purrazzo defeated Giselle Shaw, Masha Slamovich, and Mia Yamashita in a number one contenders 4-way match for the Knockouts World title. Bullet Club retained the World Tag Team title in a 4-way match against Aussie Open, Motor City Machine Guns, and TMDK. Kushida defeated Leo Rush. Kenta retained the Strong Openweight and New Japan Strong Openweight title over Minoru Suzuki. And then Hiroshi Tanahashi defeated Mike Bailey in the main event. Now, initially, Kushida was supposed to challenge for the Impact World title, but Josh Alexander had, I guess, torn his triceps in a match back, I believe it was on the 25th against Kenta, which was shown on the Impact Wrestling show that they claimed was live on Thursday. But now that's set up for Rebellion later in the month. The main event there is going to be Steve Macklin, who was already going to be challenging the winner of Kushida versus Alexander for the Impact World title. At that point, it'll be Macklin taking on Kushida for the vacated title, as Josh Alexander was forced to vacate the title due to the fact that he was injured. So with that, we do have one more piece of wrestling news to go over, which is this Friday. The National Wrestling Alliance will be having its 312 pay-per-view from Chicago. And on that card, of course, I do can tell you the main event will be Tyrus, formerly known as Brodus Clay in the WWE from years ago, defending the NWA World Heavyweight title against two-time national champion Chris Adonis, who was formerly known as Chris Masters in the WWE. Also at this Friday's show will also include, Camille defends the World Women's title against La Rosa Negra. Cyan will be defending the national title against EC3. In the finals for the tournament to crown the first ever NWA World Women's Television title, Maxie Impaler, with Father James Mitchell in her corner, takes on Kenzie Page. And for the NWA World Women's Tag Team title, Maddie and Missa Kate, who are the current champion, will be defending the titles against the team they beat for the titles, Pretty Empowered 2.0 of Ella Envy and Roxy. Kerry Morton will be defending the NWA World Junior Heavyweight title versus Joe Alonzo, as Kerry's father, Ricky Morton of the Rock and Roll Express fame, will be in his corner, while Joe Alonzo's manager, Jamie Stanley, will be in his corner. The NWA World Tag Team titles will be on the line as La Rebellion, BCS 666 and Mega Wolf will be defending against Magnum Muscle of Dak Draper and Mims. And there's a Bob Lou's Memorial 20-man Battle Royal going on, which 20 members of the 20 members of the NWA roster will be taking part in the event. They still have Danny Diaz listed as being in the corner of Alabama, even though recently that faction was forced to disband due to the fact that Danny Diaz, in order to get Alex Taylor a potential title shot at the junior heavyweight championship, he lost that match, and therefore and in a non-title match, TV champion Tom Latimer will be taking on Bully Ray. Bully Ray, who of course trained Latimer's wife, the NWA World Women's Champion Camille. So that's what's going on this weekend. I know we're coming up on an hour and a half here. I told you guys that we were only going to be going an hour, but I didn't expect to go as long as I did with that third article. But when you're making changes, that's sometimes what happens. But with that, I'm going to finish up by doing, of course, this day in Niche history. Today being Monday, April 3rd, 2023. Let's take a look back at this day in Niche history. Let me see. All right, so first off, we're going to head back 90 years ago today, as on this date back in 1933, and I'll pull that up. On this date back in 1933, Celebrity Productions Flip's Lunchroom, starring was a cartoon directed by Oob Iwerks starring Flip the Frog. So the Flip the Frog cartoon short produced by Celebrity Productions, Flip's Lunchroom, debuted on this date, was released on this date back in 1933, 90 years ago today. So there we go with that. Now we go back 40 years ago today for our next piece of niche history, back to 1983. So on this date, back in 1983, the first anime adaptation of the Kinnikuman manga, better known to most of us probably as Ultimate Muscle, as another anime in 2005 was awesome. But on this date, 40 years ago, the original anime from Toei Animation premiered on Japanese TV on this date 40 years ago today. There we go with that one. Also, on this date in 2013, 10 years ago today, Dark Horse, the first issue of Dark Horse's Abe Sapien Dark and Terrible, went on sale on this date back in 2013. It sold for $3.50 for 32 pages, edited by Scott Stewart Lee. Part one of the Dark and Terrible storyline was the story, written by Mike Mignola and Scott Stewart Lee. Art being done by Sebastian Fiumara, with lettering done by Clem Robbins and David Stewart doing the coloring. On this date, 10 years ago today, the first issue of Dark Horse's Abe Sapien Dark and Terrible #1 went on sale on newsstands. And finally, going back just 5 years ago today, the Go Home SmackDown before that year's WrestleMania, WWE held its SmackDown live event, the final live event on the road to WrestleMania that year, from which I would believe that'd be WrestleMania 34, from the Bridgestone Arena in Nashville, Tennessee. The event saw, in the main event, AJ Styles and Shinsuke Nakamura defeat Chad Gable and Shelton Benjamin via pinfall. Baron Corbin teaming with Dolph Ziggler, Mojo Rawley, and Primo Colon, defeating Ty Dillinger, Zack Ryder, and Breezango. The tag team of Breezango, Tyler Breeze, and Fandango, who is going by the name Dirty Dingo now in Impact, by the way. Rusev, known as Miro in AEW, with Aiden English in his corner, a.k.a. Matt Renwalt on Impact, defeated Jinder Mahal with Sunny Singh in his corner in just under 10 minutes. Charlotte Flair defeated Natalya via submission. And they did have a dark match, Naomi defeating Ruby Riott, a.k.a. Ruby Soho, who had Liv Morgan and Sarah Logan. So that happened just 5 years ago today. Well, I thank you guys for being here. I went longer than I actually intended, only because I didn't really. If I had thought that last article would have taken me that long to get through, I would have probably just saved it to tomorrow. But you live and you learn, especially when you're making adjustments and changes. So I hope everybody enjoyed the show tonight. We went a little longer than expected. We did go a little short last night, but it's still kind of quite a swing there. So with that, guys, I thank you all for being here, and I look forward to seeing you guys all back here tomorrow. Bye.